His Excellency, the Chair of BKKBN, His Excellency, Special Envoy of President of Republic of Indonesia, Special Envoy of President Republic Seychelles for ASEAN, His Excellency, the Executive Director of the Commission of Population and Development of the Philippines, His Excellency Ambassador of the 17 countries to Indonesia, Tunisia, Mozambique, Japan, Netherlands, Canada, Finland, Philippines, Denmark, Cote d'Ivoire, Fiji, Gambia, Iceland, Liberia, Lebanon, Panama, Romania, Trinidad and Tobago, and also high ministerial official from partners in population development, and also His Excellency, the Ambassador who will be coming to this event in this venue this afternoon. Firstly, before we would like to start the event this afternoon, we kindly invite all the ambassador and also the representative of each embassy offices and also UNFPA representative to Indonesia to take picture together with the high official of BKKBN and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please, the ambassador, His Excellency, please come forward to the stage. We have a photo picture together with the high official of BKKBN and UNFPA Indonesia and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Good afternoon once again to everyone. Namaste, may peace be upon all of us. His Excellency, Dr. Honoris Causa Hasto Wardoyo, Medical Doctor, Obgyn Specialist and Consultant, the Chairman of the National Population and Family Planning Board of Republic of Indonesia. His Excellency, Special Envoy of the President of Republic of Seychelles for ASEAN, Dr. Nico Barito. His Excellency, Executive Director of the Commission of Population and Development of the Philippines, Dr. Juan Antonio Perez III. His Excellency, Ambassador of 17 countries to Indonesia, namely Tunisia, Mozambique, Japan, Netherlands, Canada, Finland, Philippines, Denmark, Cote d'Ivoire, Fiji, Gambia, Iceland, Liberia, Lebanon, Panama, Romania, Trinidad and Tobago. His Excellency, the Ambassador invitees for this evening. The Ambassador of Morocco, the Ambassador of Egypt, the Ambassador of Mauritania, the Ambassador of Mozambique, the Ambassador of Nigeria, the Ambassador of South Africa, the Ambassador of Tunisia, the Ambassador of Zimbabwe, the Ambassador of Algeria, the Ambassador of Libya, the Ambassador of Somalia, and the Ambassador of Sudan. His Excellency, or the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to those country mentioned above. Excellency, High Ministerial Official from partners in population and development from 26 member states. Our distinguished Regional Director UNFPA Asia Pacific Regional Office, Mr. Bjorn Andersson. The Honorable Deputy Chairman of BKKBN for Training, Research and Development, Professor Rizal Martuadamanik, PhD. The Honorable UNFPA Representative to Indonesia, Ms. Anjali Zen. The Honorable Director for Socio-Cultural Aware and International Organization of Developing Countries, Ministry of Foreign Affairs Indonesia, Madam Penny Dewi Herasati. The Honorable Line Ministries, Universities, Development Partners, and Press and Media. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is our great pleasure to welcome you to the Global Family Forum on Policies and Best Practices in Reproductive Health and Stunting Reduction today, 16th of November 2021 at Westin Hotel, Jakarta. My name is Uki Kusuma Kurniawan. I'm the head for Center for International Training and Collaboration of the National Population and Family Planning Board, or BKKBN, of the Republic of Indonesia. And I will be your master of ceremony for today's event. For those who joining virtually beforehand, we would like to check with you whether you can see and hear our voice from your laptops. If yes, please kindly give up a thumbs up response. Yes, can you see or hear our voice here? Okay, great, thank you. If there is something with the voice, please let us know through chat box from your Zoom room or link. Ladies and gentlemen, we also like to inform the rules of webinar for this event today. Firstly, all participants will be muted during the webinar. Secondly, format name as the participant in the Zoom room, namely name _ institution _ country. Thirdly, all participants are expected to fill in the attendance list and survey form. Participants are expected as mandatory to obtain a certificate via a link which will be provided in the question and answer session. Mandatory to obtain a certificate via a link which will be provided. You can ask questions in parallel during the presentation. A link which will be provided. You can ask questions in parallel during the presentation. A link which will be provided. You can ask questions in parallel during the presentation. Question format, name institution, names _ institution _ intended resource person to whom the question to be addressed to, and then _ question. Fifthly, in the question and answer session, the moderator will choose and read out questions from participant from the question link, or participant can be asked to submit questions directly. Sixthly, the material can be downloaded at the end of the webinar through this link mentioned in the Zoom. Thank you very much. Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today's event, namely Global Family Forum on Policies and Best Practices in Reproductive Health and Stunting Reduction. This is an activity initiated by the Center for International Training and Collaboration of the National Population and Family Planning Board, or BKKBN Indonesia. Welcome, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Nigeria. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Please have a seat. This activity is a part of an effort to showcase and disseminate some policies and best practices regarding reproductive health and stunting reduction, and to provide an opportunity for a wide range of stakeholders to discuss and share perspective on the reproductive health and stunting issues, and to conduct a global virtual discussion forum for exchange of knowledge among developing countries. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start the remark, we would like to take a picture for those participants by virtual for our purpose of documentation report. For those who participate virtually, please kindly open up your camera screen and turn on your camera from your own laptop. Please, ladies and gentlemen, be prepared. We will take a photo session together. There will be around 300 participants. So there will be around 4 times taking picture slots. We would like to start now. I will take a countdown from 3, 2, 1, action. Yes, please, the operator, could you please help us? Yes, please be prepared. Okay, yes. Please open up your camera from your laptop. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please be ready. 3, 2, 1, action. Once again, the second layer. Please be ready. 3, 2, 1, action. Thank you. The third layer. Please be ready. 3, 2, 1, action. Thank you. Last slot. Please be ready. 3, 2, 1, action. Thank you very much. Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. To begin with, we would like to request the honor to invite the chairman of the National Population and Family Planning Board of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Dr. Honoris Causa, Dr. Hasto Wardoyo, Medical Doctor of Gene Specialist and Consultant, whom will be represented by the Deputy for Training, Research and Development, Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, PhD, to deliver his welcoming remarks and to officially open this event. The Honorable Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, the time is yours. Please come forward to the stage.
Thank you, Pak Oki. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to all of you. His Excellency, the Special Envoy of the President of Republic Seychelles for ASEAN, Dr. Nico Barito. His Excellency's Executive Director of the Commission of Population and Development of the Philippines, Dr. Juan Antonio Perez III. His Excellency, ambassadors of 17 countries to Indonesia, namely Tunisia, Mozambique, Japan, Netherlands, Canada, Finland, Philippines, Denmark, Puerto Rico, Fiji, Gambia, Iceland, Liberia, Lebanon, Panama, Romania, Trinidad and Tobago. His Excellency, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to those 17 countries as mentioned above. Excellencies, High Ministerial Officials of Partners in Population and Development from 26 member states, Distinguished Regional Director, UNFPA, Asia Pacific Regional Office, Dr. Bjorn Andersen, Honorable Deputy Chairman of BKKBN for Training, Research and Development, Professor Rizal Damani, Honorable UNFPA Representative to Indonesia, Dr. Anjali Sen, Honorable Director for Social Cultural Affairs and International Organization of Developing Countries, Ministry of Foreign Affairs Indonesia, Madam Penny Dewi Herasati, honorable line ministries, universities, development partners, and press and media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May peace be upon us. Allow me to firstly praise the Almighty God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Lord, for enabling us together here attending the opening ceremony of Global Family Forum on policies and best practices in reproductive health and stunting reduction. On behalf of the government of Indonesia, I'd like to warmly welcome to all of invitees, especially to His Excellency's ambassador from 17 countries. I wish all of you and your family are in good health during the COVID-19 pandemic. We believe that the world will continue to make efforts to overcome the transmission of COVID-19 so that we will be able to interact again without fear of COVID-19. We, BKKBN, are honored to be able to host this global family forum on policies and best practices in reproductive health and stunting reduction. The global forum is expected to increase the international solidarity, especially among the developing countries. This international webinar aims to, first, showcase and disseminate some policies and best practices regarding reproductive health and stunting reduction. Second, to provide an opportunity for a wide range of stakeholders to discuss and share perspective on the reproductive health and stunting issues. And third, establish a global virtual discussion forum for exchange of knowledge among the countries. His Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to take opportunity of this precious moment to deliver some important points. There are at least 3 important sustainable development goals that are required to be fulfilled regarding reproductive health and stunting issues by the year 2030. First, SDGs number 2.2, to end all forms of malnutrition, including achieving the targets on stunting in children under 5 years of age and address the nutritional needs of adolescent girls, pregnant and lactating women. Second, SDGs number 3.2, to end preventable deaths of newborns and children under 5 years of age, with all countries aiming to reduce national mortality to 12 per 1,000 live births and under 5 mortality to 20 per 1,000 live births. Third, SDGs number 5.6, to ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights as agreed in accordance with the 1994 ICPD and the 1995 Beijing Platform for Action. Indonesia has a strong commitment to achieve these sustainable development goals and also a commitment to ending preventable maternal deaths, unmet need for family planning services, and gender inequalities. Efforts to achieve these targets are manifested in a concrete manner in the long-term, medium-term development plans, national strategic plans, as well as supportive funding framework between central government, local governments, and village government. His Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, in January 2021, the President of Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Joko Widodo, gave a mandate to BKKBN as the Chief Executive for the acceleration of stunting reduction. Annually, the decline in stunting rates in Indonesia is still at 1.6%. The President of Republic of Indonesia set a target that at least every year the stunting rate in Indonesia can be reduced to 2.7% and lower stunting level to 14% by the year of 2024. BKKBN with a number of ministries have direct extension to the provincial level and formulate concrete steps to address stunting problems in Indonesia. One of the key things that we do is developing synchronized policies, strategies are important to be implemented in a quality and on-target manner. Our efforts
focus on access to information and services of reproductive health and stunting reduction for women and girls. In recent years, developing countries are facing many challenges that influence the health and nutritional status of women and children under 5 years of age and high mortality rates. Yet, many developing countries has implemented numerous policies and best practices to address those issues. The policies and best practices are usually taken from various potential local natural resources that are cheap and easy to be obtained. One of the efforts to prevent infant and under 5 mortality due to malnutrition, including stunting, is exclusive breastfeeding. His Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, furthermore, we believe that many developing countries are still struggling to cope with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on reproductive health and stunting reduction. Therefore, there is a need to enhance our understanding of crisis in developing countries and appropriate policy responses. This global forum aims to improve communication among developing countries, awareness of common problems, and wider opportunities for future collaboration. Finally, we would like to express our gratitude and appreciation to the Regional Director of UNFPA, APRO, UNFPA representative to Indonesia, Director for Social Cultural Affairs and International Organization of Developing Countries, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Indonesia, Special Envoy of the President of Republic of Seychelles to ASEAN, and Director of the Philippine Population Commission for your support and collaboration with BKKBN so far. Hopefully, this good communication and cooperation will continue in the future. May God Almighty give the abundance of His mercy. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Professor Rizal Martua Damani, PhD, the Deputy for Training, Research and Development of BKKBN, to deliver your remarks and to officially open this event. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to request the honor to invite our distinguished Mr. Bjorn Andersson, Regional Director of UNFPA Asia Pacific Regional Office of Bangkok, to give his remark. Our distinguished Mr. Bjorn Andersson, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, and greetings from Bangkok in Thailand. His Excellency Dr. Hasto Vardoyo, Chairperson of the National Population and Family Planning Board. His Excellency Mr. Nico Barito, Special Envoy or President of the Seychelles for ASEAN. Dr. Juan Antonio Perez III, Executive Director of Commission on Population and Development of the Philippines. And Ms. Penny Devi Herasati, Director for Social Cultural Affairs and International Organization of Developing Countries, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. And my colleague, Ms. Anjali Sen, UNFPA Indonesia representative. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And I would like to begin by thanking the National Population and Family Planning Board of Indonesia for inviting me to participate in the Global Family Forum on Best Practices in Reproductive Health and Stunting Reduction. In my remarks this afternoon, I will be addressing the gains and the challenges after the adoption of the ICPD Program of Action, of which the government of Indonesia is a signatory, and also consider the current challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 25 years, globally, maternal deaths have declined by around 40%. Rates of child marriage and female genital mutilation have fallen. Primary school is accessible to most children in the world, and human life expectancy has increased by 7 years since 1994. In the Asia-Pacific region, Significant progress has also been made. Over the past several decades, Asia-Pacific countries have boosted economic growth, dramatically reduced poverty, and increased life expectancy. On the education front, one of the region's greatest successes has been to achieve overall gender parity in primary education and near parity at the secondary and tertiary levels. Moreover, access to sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights has increased, as demonstrated by the decline in maternal mortality by 56% between the year 2000 and the year 2017 in the Asia-Pacific region. In Indonesia, progress has been achieved with the expansion of social protection coverage, which has helped to reduce poverty. The National Health Insurance Scheme has contributed to improved health outcomes, and additionally, 90% of births are attended by skilled health providers. However, despite this progress, millions of women and men throughout the world have not been able to realize the promise of the ICPD. In Indonesia, the maternal mortality ratio remains high and among the highest in the ASEAN countries. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has added complexity to the current context and exposed weaknesses in healthcare systems globally. When most resources are focused on handling the pandemic, life-saving essential health services, including sexual and reproductive health services, tend to be overlooked. Vulnerabilities and inequalities have increased, affecting mostly marginalized communities who have to bear the brunt of restricted access to sources of income, health services, and other essential life-saving services. Already overstretched health systems in the countries of the region have been further challenged in the context of COVID-19 preparedness and response, causing disruptions in essential health and nutrition services for mothers, newborns, children, and adolescents, potentially leading to preventable maternal, newborn, and child mortality and morbidity. A recent study by UNFPA and Avenir Health estimates that 12 million women have experienced disruptions in the family planning services due to the COVID-19 pandemic globally, leading to 1.4 million unintended pregnancies. With these setbacks, in the next years to come, our efforts to deliver the ICPD agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals will remain a challenge, especially among low and middle-income countries. Therefore, webinar forums like this one are important in facilitating sharing of experiences and practices in delivering effective and accelerated implementation of the ICPD Program of Action in order to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals agenda and its focus on leaving no one behind. Ladies and gentlemen, in addressing the current challenges, we must specifically address the needs of all sectors of the society, including the most marginalized. This includes engaging women, girls, persons with disabilities, and indigenous people, among others, as agents of change, not merely as beneficiaries of development. It includes implementing a rights-based approach to address the needs of people and providing the means for women to make decisions that affect their bodies and lives. Experience and evidence proves that empowering women will benefit themselves and their families, and ultimately communities and nations. We must also strengthen our partnerships with all relevant stakeholders, including civil society and grassroots organizations, to achieve our common goals. We must encourage more cross-learning and sharing of best practices among countries. And lastly, we must strengthen national data systems to provide data disaggregated by key demographic characteristics, especially age, sex, marital status, and migration status, in line with the 2030 agenda to ensure evidence-based policies. Over the past 25 years, we have amassed a great deal of knowledge and good practices for addressing issues related to sexual and reproductive health. However, we need to utilize that evidence, data, and experience to inform our policies. We cannot allow other interests to shift our attention from reaching the people most in need and saving lives. With regards to today's webinar, studies have shown strong association between family planning and the incidence of stunting. Postponing the age of first birth and increasing interpregnancy intervals has the potential to significantly reduce the prevalence of stunting and improve child development. This highlights the importance of family planning as a key intervention in reducing stunting. Distinguished participants, in conclusion, the ultimate goal of the ICPD program of action is the improvement of the quality of life of present and future generations, and the accountability and responsibility to do so lies with us. With ICPD, we put human rights at the center of development. If we work together more vigorously and make the crucial investments needed in people, we can achieve sustainable development that leaves no one behind. I thank you. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our distinguished Mr. Bjorn Andersson, the Regional Director of UNFPA Asia Pacific Regional Office of Bangkok, for delivering your remarks. His Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite the Honorable Ms. Anjali Zen, the UNFPA representative to Indonesia, to give her remarks. Our Honorable Ms. Anjali Zen, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih, Pak Uki. Bapak Dr. Hasto Wardoyo, Chairperson of the National Population and Family Planning Board. His Excellency Nico Barito, Special Envoy of the President of Seychelles for ASEAN. UNFPA Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific, Mr. Bjorn Andersson. Bapak Professor Rizal Damanik, Deputy for Training, Research and Development, BKKBN. Dr. Juan Antonio Perez, Executive Director of Commission on Population and Development of the Philippines. Ms. Penny Devi Herasati, Director for Social Cultural Affairs and International Organization of Developing Countries, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Indonesia. Excellencies, ambassadors of 17 countries, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here this afternoon to participate in the Global Family Forum on Best Practices in Reproductive Health and Stunting Reduction that aims to promote sharing of best practices from various developing countries on reproductive health and stunting reduction. I want to extend my appreciation and thanks to BKKBN for inviting me to this very important webinar. BKKBN has been a long-term partner of UNFPA since 1972. Over these years, there are various lessons learned and best practices that were produced by our collaborative efforts. I believe that this will be shared and discussed in this webinar by our esteemed speakers today. UNFPA will continue supporting the government of Indonesia in reaching its development commitments and goals within the framework of the SDGs and specifically as framed within the International Conference on Population and Development, ICPD commitments, of which Indonesia has been a signatory since 1994. Evidence has shown that family planning plays an important role in promoting family health and welfare, more specifically in promoting the health of women and reducing maternal mortality and stunting. High rates of maternal mortality and stunting are two of the main problems, health-related problems in Indonesia that have become health development priorities as stated in the medium-term National Development Plan of 2019-2024. While stunting problems have gained substantial attention in recent years in Indonesia, the high maternal mortality has been acknowledged for a long time since the early 1990s. However, high maternal mortality ratio in Indonesia remains one of the unfinished agenda that requires our utmost attention. Maternal health experts have agreed on the most effective means to reduce maternal mortality that include 4 core strategies, and these are known as the 4 pillars of safe motherhood. These are family planning with related reproductive health services, skill care during pregnancy and childbirth, emergency obstetric care, and immediate postnatal care. Indonesia has adopted these 4 core strategies. Strengthening of these reproductive health services, including family planning, is key to maternal mortality reduction efforts. And family planning is a means for achieving better health status, particularly for women, and an important component in promoting the quality of human resources. Our main takeaway from the previous country programs highlighted the importance of strong advocacy for sexual and reproductive health and gender equality, strong partnerships and leadership in South-South technical cooperation, and focus on humanitarian preparedness, response, and recovery, which builds resilience. Several key interventions are closely related with stunting reduction programs, such as strengthening midwifery education and workforce, accelerating political and financial commitment to ending preventable maternal deaths, promoting rights-based family planning, preventing and responding to gender-based violence and harmful practices, including child marriage, and empowering young people and ensuring access to comprehensive sexuality education. In the past 2 years, we have faced the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic that has exposed weaknesses in the healthcare systems and has caused serious gaps and challenges in the provision of reproductive health services for women in many countries, including in Indonesia. Decline in family planning services has occurred and could lead to unintended pregnancies that will require antenatal, delivery, and postpartum care. Some women may be at the risk of unsafe abortions due to their unintended pregnancies. Furthermore, reduction in access to and utilization of essential maternal health services may translate to significant increases in the number of women who may suffer complications and die during pregnancy, childbirth, and the postnatal period. With all these added challenges, it is important to note that the need for reproductive health remains the same, and it needs to be fulfilled. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today's webinar will specifically discuss the evidence and best practices in reproductive health and stunting reduction. In the future, with stronger approaches in reproductive health program, hopefully we will be able to address the problem of high maternal mortality, high unmet need for family planning, and stunting. This could be achieved by strengthening the quality of family planning services to ensure that the dropout rates can be reduced and eventually increase the protective effort of contraceptive use. Last but not the least, I would like to extend my thanks to Pa Hasto and BKKBN colleagues that have arranged this webinar to enable us to discuss the important lessons learned in reproductive health and stunting reduction program. A special thanks to His Excellency, Mr. Nico Barito. Thank you also to all our notable resource persons. I hope that this webinar can highlight the strategic follow-ups for further strengthening reproductive health programs in the country. And finally, I wish you all a very productive and fruitful webinar this afternoon. I thank you. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you very much, our Honorable Ms. Anjali Sen, the UNFPA country representative to Indonesia, for delivering your remarks. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to kindly invite our Honorable Madam Penny Dewi Herasati, the Director for Socio-Cultural Affairs and IODC, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, to give her endorsement remarks. Our Honorable Madam Penny Dewi Herasati, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Pak Oki. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore. Good afternoon. Bapak Dr. Hasto Wardoyo, Chairman of the Population and Family Planning National Board of Indonesia, Professor Rizal Martua Damanik, Deputy for Training, Research and Development of the BKKBN, Mr. Nico Barito, Special Envoy of President of Seychelles for ASEAN, Dr. Juan Antonio Perez III, Executive Director, Commission on Population and Development of the Philippines, Excellencies, Ambassadors from friendly countries accredited to Indonesia, Mr. Bjorn Anderson, Regional Director of UNFPA Asia Pacific Regional Office, Bangkok, Ms. Anjali Sen, UNFPA Country Representative Indonesia, distinguished official of the Partners in Population Development Member State, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings from Jakarta to everyone participating in today's Global Family Forum. Let me first of all thank and congratulate the BKKBN for organizing this event of substantial significance, bringing together the key relevant stakeholders in the continuous discourse of taking on the issue of stunting and promoting best practices on reproductive health. Stunting continues to be a thorn in the development of human capital of developing countries, including Indonesia. More or less, a quarter of Indonesia's young generation have a higher risk of weakened immune systems, more susceptible to diseases, and impacted brain development, all due to the effects of stunting. The condition at global level is not far off, as WHO reports that 22% of all children under 5 years were stunted in 2020. On a macro level, stunting also proves a threat to the productivity of an economy in which it has shown to reduce gross national product by 11% every year in Asia and Africa. Due to these devastating impacts of stunting on human development and considering the immense efforts needed to overcome it, cooperation between all stakeholders is paramount in eradicating stunting on the global level. National and subnational governments, international organizations, the private sector, and international development partners all have a part to play in combating stunting through effective nutrition interventions, improving universal access to healthy diets, and creating sustainable and resilient food systems. Indonesia continues to develop pertinent policies to accelerate our ambitious yet vital stunting reduction programs, ranging from national level strategies to grassroots level programs. We are eager to share these policies and experiences to the world as lesson learned, which could hopefully be replicated by fellow developing countries, tackling the same issues within their respective population. Simultaneously, Indonesia looks to other governments, international organizations, and numerous international actors to support our effort in reducing the national prevalence of stunting to 14% by 2024 through sharing of best practices, co-implementation, and co-financing of development projects, among others. Ladies and gentlemen, among these cooperation partners, the UNFPA has been growing a strong relationship with the government of the Republic of Indonesia since 1972, engaged in various programs with Bappenas, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, and of course, BKKBN. As like today's event, the UNFPA has also been supportive in facilitating various of South-South and triangular cooperation on issues of reproductive health, family planning, gender mainstreaming, and population. Entering the 10th cycle of the country program action plan, we hope the partnership of the government of Indonesia and UNFPA continues to enhance engagement, cooperation, and solidarity in tackling the complex issue of stunting reduction. May this Global Family Forum bring us closer to our admired goal of reducing stunting for the sake of future generation. I thank you. I return the microphone, the screen to you, Pak Uki. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our Honorable Madam Penny Dewi Herasati from the Indonesian Ministry of Foreign Affairs for delivering your endorsement remarks. Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we would like to proceed to the main substance. For this, with your permission, we would like to hand over the discussion floor to His Excellency, Dr. Nico Barito, Special Envoy of the President Seychelles to ASEAN, to moderate our next session, policies and best practices in reproductive health and stunting reduction. His Excellency Dr. Nico Barito, the floor is yours. Please give applause to Mr. Ambassador Nico. Thank you.
Where is the mic? Discussion, right? So I just do it from the chair. Okay. Well, again, a very good afternoon. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, the Chairman of BKKBN, Dr. Hasto, and Excellencies representing UNFPA's Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Executive Director for the Population and Development of the Philippines, all protocol observed. Firstly, I would like to thank all my colleagues. Today, we are so proud all to be here celebrating your Global Family Forum because Indonesia and Africa have been such a close friends. Looking back at the history of Indonesia-Africa Conference 1955. So we want to make sure that the Family Forum also builds a close ties deep in the heart between the African and the Indonesian. Today, I am pleased and honored by the presence of our Dean of African Diplomatic Corps, Ambassador of Morocco. Yeah, Ambassador of Morocco, Mr. Oidia Ben Abdallah, and then next to him is Ambassador of Egypt, Ambassador Ashraf Sultan, and my brother who just come to Indonesia, Ambassador of Nigeria, Usman Arioga. Then actually, many African ambassadors want to join, but there is an overlapping of agendas, probably that they cannot be here. But I'm so happy to have all the full representative is here. Algeria is represented by Abderrazak, please, yeah. Libya by Mr. Lotfi. Mauritania, Monsieur Mamado, s'il vous plaît. And Somalia, Ahmed Mahmoud. Tunisia, Wissam Montgomery. And my old sister, I know her for many years, Zimbabwe, Viola. Well, we are so glad to be here. And for me, I mean, this family forum is also to share for ambassadors and excellencies from Africa who feel surprised. What is the Seychelles doing in this part of the world, right? We are a small ocean. We have no family problems in general. But I can say we don't have stunting. We don't have reproductive health to talk about. But we have a lot of problems in the family. When your country become touristic, when your economy level raise to develop, there is a lot of family welfare to talk about. There is issues of parents, mothers, daughters, children, lack of communications, changes of behaviors. And I have a group of teachers, nurse, family welfare cares people at 2017 who asked me, where can we do training in ASEAN countries? Excellency, Mr. Barito. So I got headache. Where can I send these people to? So I thought the most appropriate place is Indonesia because of the close in hearts and the historical wise. So 28 of them come here and go for a training for 3 weeks. Yeah? 3 weeks in the Indonesian Family Planning Board. And again, this is not only about reproductive health, not only about stunting, but it's more about family welfare. And I believe when they are here, they learn to communicate with the families. And I feel, and I believe, Dean, the economy between Africa and Indonesia can boost higher if there is a good connectivity between the peoples. There is a good relations between the family. And I hope that through this kind of family programs, a global family forum, we can create a global family forum of Indonesia and Africa. And I'm happy to say like Seychelles and BKKBN already announced the establishment of a Center of Excellence on Family Welfare. And I called to BKKBN of Indonesia, Anjana, I said, this is not for Seychelles. And not only for the neighboring small islands of Seychelles. This Center of Excellence should be expanded further. Somalia, right? Not far from Seychelles. And maybe our friend from Egypt is the mentor of family planning. So, I mean, we know Egypt is very good. Morocco is happy, no problem, they said. But I think maybe my brothers from Nigeria may benefit from these interactions. So this is the overall idea that I thought it's good for us to share this opportunity together since they don't have Global Family Forum every day anyway, right? So by the presence here, I hope and I call for BKPN to support that this dialogue and network will continue after this room, and there'll be more individual meetings and discussions to details what each country of Africa needs. And if there is training that can be brought for African welfare, families, issues, ministers, social ministers or something, you know, even under the South operations, right? So this is why I'm here, and that is why they gave me one bucket of BKKBN. I feel like I'm honored, but I work for BKKBN without salary because I got this batik two years ago from Banjarmasin when my colleague, with my colleague Juan Perez, okay, from Philippines. And then I'm lucky still to wear it again today. Well, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, in this forum, we want to promote the best practices from the developing countries, including Indonesia, on reproductive health, stunting reduction, and perspective of creating healthy ambience towards prosperous family. I believe today, Ms. Anjana, when we talk about stunting and health, then we are talking about various technologies. Medications is another corridor of technologies, challenging the health norm from common pharmaceutical to even artificial intelligence health. It's all around now. So one can see reproductive health, stunting, nutrition from different corridor. But don't forget, in Africa, in Indonesia, we have what, like you mentioned, indigenous. Yeah, indigenous traditional practice, which is also beneficial for health and stunting reductions. So for this, I know my colleague here, Professor Rizal Damanik, has been developing some indigenous stunting, herbal, whatever, okay? Well, you only told me once, so I'm not very clear with what you have developed. So shall I give the floor to you, Professor Damanik, to explain what you have do that probably, it can be any kind of herbal, you know? It can be for a strong man, it can be for beautiful lady, we don't mind. But for what we need is reproductive health. Please, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellencies, for a nice introduction. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, so I'd like to share a bit about what Excellencies mentioned about the traditional belief and practice in Indonesia. I have made a preparation slide. The presentation? Yeah, that's right. Okay, next slide. No, the previous one. Okay, this is about the best practice in reproductive health and stunting reduction in Indonesia. So malnutrition, ladies and gentlemen, affects all countries and 1 of 9 people of the planet. Malnutrition is a major impediment to socio-economic development of a country. Malnourished children are more prone to disease, poor cognitive and physical development, and poor school performance. These result in failure to achieve their full potential in life and reduce physical and economic attainment in adulthood. Tackling barriers to exclusive breastfeeding is one key in meeting SDGs target. In 2012, the World Health Assembly approved a comprehensive implementation plan on maternal, infant, and young child nutrition that identified the 6 global targets related to priority nutrition outcomes to be achieved by 2025. Further, among 17 targets of Sustainable Development Goals established by the United Nations in 2015, the goal number 2 is aim to achieve zero hunger by 2030. This goal also focuses on reducing malnutrition and stunting by improving nutrition of all people. According to the WHO, those classified as stunting are newborns with a length of less than 48 centimeters, length at the age of 6 months less than 68 centimeters, and length at the age of 12 months is less than 71 centimeters. What is the situation on stunting here in Indonesia that is so alarming? The latest data from the basic health research conducted in 2018, 1 in 3 or 30.8% of children 0 to 59 months old were stunted. At 30%, the WHO classifies the prevalence of stunting in Indonesia as a public health problem with a high in magnitude and severity. This translates to about 8 million children. Ladies and gentlemen, this slide shows some problems that has existed in Indonesia which could increase the risk of stunting in children, such as pregnant women with anemia, low birth weight and length, cases of premature baby born, child marriage and birth spacing. We can see all, right? We can see all that factors that increase the risk of stunting is still high, such a premature baby born with 675,000 cases and birth spacing less than 24 months with 663,000 cases. To reduce stunting, it is also necessary to reduce problems that can increase the risk of stunting. In the left side, we can see the figure that illustrates the fetal nutrition is an important link between poverty and development of human capital. It shows that low birth weight babies without the catch-up growth because of a lack of appropriate interventions will develop into stunted children
and become adults with reduced human capital. As I mentioned earlier, that in our hands is the fate of the newborns and the future generation of Indonesia. From this slide, we can see that there are significant regional differences. Subsequent studies found that in some locations, the rate of stunting in children reached 42%. 3 provinces with the highest prevalence are East Nusa Tenggara, West Sulawesi, and West Nusa Tenggara provinces. According to the Indonesia Basic Health Research Data Riskesdas, the stunting rate in Indonesia has decreased from 37.2% in 2013 to 30.18% by 2018. Then it continued decreasing to 27.7% by 2019. However, the prevalence is still relatively high if compared to the WHO standards, which at 20%. In 2021, the President of Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Bapak Joko Widodo, has been mandated BKKBN to coordinate the stunting reduction program in Indonesia. The President targeted to reduce the stunting rate to 14% by 2024. It means that to achieve the target, Indonesia should reduce stunting rate at 2.7% each year from 2019 to 2024. Indeed, this target is very difficult, but it is not impossible to achieve as long as all parties involved have high commitments and good coordination and take a concrete action to accelerate the reduction of stunting rates in Indonesia. Extraordinary action needs also to be taken. It is not only about the target, but it is also will determine the quality of Indonesian people in the future. In our hands is the fate of the newborns and the future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, to accelerate stunting reduction at national level, BKKBN has developed the national strategy for the acceleration of stunting reduction. This strategy becomes a reference for ministries, agencies, provincial, regional governments, regency, municipal governments, village governments, and stakeholders in the context of implementing the acceleration of stunting reductions. To achieve the target to accelerate the stunting reduction to 14% by 2024, Indonesia has established a national task force on stunting reduction, which formed from the central to village level. This team has role to coordinate, synergize, and evaluate the implementation of the acceleration of stunting reduction in their areas. Based on scientific evidence and Indonesia's situation, we have determined 9 powerful indicators for nutrition-specific interventions and 11 indicators for nutrition-sensitive interventions. These indicators of sensitive and specific interventions written in the Presidential Regulation number 72, year 2021 on the acceleration of stunting reduction. The target of those interventions focus on teenagers or adolescents, pregnant mothers, postpartum mothers, and also children under 5 years old. We do realize that the most common bottleneck of program at the grassroots level is the delivery platform. So in year 2020, we provide a team-based assistance of a high-risk family as our community referral systems. Ladies and gentlemen, stunting prevention should be used local wisdom because it is much cheaper, much easier to be obtained, and can be used by many people as possible. In context of developing countries where their socio-economic status are still low, then the solution for stunting prevention can be started from various cheap nutritious food, including breast milk. Indonesian government has encouraged all lactating mothers to do exclusive breastfeeding during the first 6 months of their babies. Ladies and gentlemen, many studies found that exclusive breastfeeding significantly prevents stunting, such as found in study by Mikawati in Goa, South Sulawesi provinces, Jember in East Java provinces by Andindia, and Semarang in the Central Java by Sari, and in Mexico by Campos in 2020. Children who were not exclusively breastfed were 3 times more at risk of stunting than those exclusively breastfed. Breastfeeding were consistent protective factors against child stunting. This has been proven by studies by Andindia and Campos and also Mikawati, as I mentioned earlier. However, there is a little progress in exclusive breastfeeding rates from 32% in 1994 to 40% in 2017. The figures show breastfeeding practices by children's age. The percentage of exclusive breastfeeding falls as children's age rises from 67% at age 1 month to 38% at age 4 to 5 months and to 10% at the age of 6 to 7 months. Insufficient milk syndrome stems from poverty, sexism, and powerlessness, not from poor maternal nutritional status. Though mothers may claim that it is their poor nutritional status, evidence suggests that maternal nutritional status has little effect on breast milk production or composition, except in severely malnourished women. For example, those under 85% of reference weight for height. Grainer, the college, Extrick and Latam argue that it is largely a cultural phenomenon when insufficient milk syndrome occurs during exclusive breastfeeding, and largely a physiological response to reduce nipple stimulation once supplemental feeding has begun. Others suggest that perceived breast milk inadequacy is underpinned by a complex and synergistic interaction among socio-cultural influences, feeding management, such as positioning of babies and attachment while breastfeeding, the baby behavior, lactation physiology, and the mother's physiological state. Apart from perceived hunger or thirst, the observed notions of the baby needs water and the baby has other needs apart from milk to grow well and faster. There are several local wisdom in postnatal care in various countries, such as lying by fire, taking hot baths with the herbs, steaming with boiling herbs, consuming herb drinks or herbs foods, snuffing or inhaling burning herbs, herbal charcoal sitting, etc. This slide shows us about the torbangun. This is a local name for the Coleus amboinicus lure that has been used as a breast milk stimulant or a lactagogue by Batak people in North Sumatra province of Indonesia for hundreds of years. Damanik has investigated the practice and cultural beliefs related to the traditional use of torbangun as a lactagogue. The main findings of this novel study were first, torbangun, which is considered nourishing, is usually given to the mother for 1 month after giving birth in order to restore her state of balance. In the Batak culture, torbangun is perceived to serve several purposes, which include enhancing breast milk production and acting as a uterine cleansing agent. And the tradition has been practiced for hundreds of years, and its adherence is still strong. And it is clear that the plant, the Coleus amboinicus lure, is perceived to have a beneficial role in the Batak diet, particularly for maternal health. Other benefits of torbangun high in vitamin C, and then a great immune booster. It has also been used to treat sore throats and congestion. It helps to eliminate excess mucus. It is used to ease arthritis and osteoporosis, used by athletes to reduce stress on their bones and joints, soothe inflammation in the stomach and improve digestion, relieve diarrhea and symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, reduce itching and swelling of insect bites, and it is shown to have antibacterial and antifungal properties. The studies of Terbangun has received many international awards. Monash University, for example, and also John Lake's Prize for Research from the same university, also from Danone, Indonesia Danone Institute. The research findings were published in Handbook of Dietary and Nutritional Aspects of Human Breast Milk by Wageningen Academic Publishers in Netherlands in the year 2013. No more slide. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor. So you are introducing to us Terbangun. Terbangun, I mean, this is herbals, and have it been produced? I believe in African countries, we may also have different herbals, which is also good for the children, right? So in between this, I mean, I believe, we believe that the reproduction health, stunting, also have a very strong issues with the living standard. Do you agree with me, Professor?
Yes, agree. As I mentioned earlier, that breast milk from the breastfeeding mothers, you know, many women experience low production of breast milk. So in Batak society, to avoid these symptoms, the parents give these leaves to the women who just gave birth for the duration of 30 days. By consuming this plant, they believe that breast milk production will increase, and it has been investigated that not only the quantity, but also the quality of breast milk is also influenced by this Terbangun leaves.
Thank you, Professor. I believe that BKKBN have a 55 years of history, and you already have access, arms, even down to the village. So I would like to ask my colleague from Morocco and Dean of African Diplomatic Corps, what's your opinion of working together with BKKBN for African community? Please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I would like to thank you, Nico Bariku, and thank you, Professor, and all of you, and all my colleagues from African countries to be here to this evening. First of all, we are here to learn from you. We are not experts, but we are sharing. We are sharing a lot in these matters. And every country has its own practices. Just you was speaking about the last one, about how to make milky fabric. How you call it in English? The breathing. In Morocco, and I am sure in every country, we have practices, the mother, how to make her having milk, quality milk, a long time. We have products you use for the farm. ingredients we use in their food and all of that. Me, I would like to give one remark. 2 years ago, I couldn't imagine that I could be here speaking with this. Something changed in our life. Something profoundly changed in our life, in all our lives. And it's not for a short time. It will be for a long time. All the data you give us is from 2018, 2015. I think it's different now. All the practices are different. What 2 years of staying at home gives in changing of our daily life? Everything changed. Even the woman cannot go to the pharmacy in our rural societies, and we are similar in Africa and in Indonesia. Many similarities. So they cannot go to the pharmacy because it's expensive, because we don't have enough money, because of the pandemic we are scary, so we say better to stay at home, and other things. We can enumerate all what changing in our life, and all what will change our data. All our data next year will be completely different. So the most important today, countries who have similarities, how can we work together to adapt the new life after the post-COVID-19? We have to adapt, and nothing than multilateralism, nothing better than working together. And I think if there is important for me remark is how can we work together? African countries, Indonesia, and other countries who have similarities. We don't have other choice. Thank you very much. And sorry, I have to leave in a short moment. Thank you very much.
So, Ambassador of Morocco is the Dean of African Diplomatic Corps. So we are proud to have you here. I mean, and we look forward definitely. I mean, of course, Seychelles, all the team. I'm here to facilitate whatever you think that need to be facilitated, open more access with the friends here because we already have the partnerships. Well, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, BKKBN have 55 years of experiences, and it started, I believe, from birth control, family planning issues, then family welfare, and today they encompass a greater work. I was surprised when I started working closely with this team. They talk about elders, they talk about youth, yeah. So a lot of different corridors. So one of the key factors that I discussed one day with BKKBN is sharing back what Seychelles can do for BKKBN, because they share with me all the practices on family welfare. So I share with them practices on clean environment, because Seychelles is well known for clean environment initiative, sustainable environment. And I know that Indonesia is a big country. Being a big country, there is big issues on waste and garbage every day, every place, every corner. If you are down in the beach of Seychelles today, you see a mother and a child will just scrap the beach free of charge. They do that by sincerity because they need to take care of the beach to have more tourists, feel more attractive. So this call of local wisdom has been there. Now, Indonesia have so big families. I discussed with the chairman of BKKBN back in 2019. And I'm happy that finally now we launch a programs in 2020. I think 2020, right? When we launched the program in Kulon Progo, and we call the program Healthy Environment Towards Prosperous Family. It's very simple. I said, cleaning the waste is not issues only by regulation and by rules, okay? And when you talk about healthy family, clean house, clean family, it's parts of the family. I mean, Dr. Anjana, do you agree with me? Anjali, right? It's about a family. So I'm not crossing corridor to go to environmental ends. We are not talking about environment at large. We are talking about environment at home. The family, the mother, the children, the grandfather, the father, they have to know how to segregate the waste. Make their own system so that finally they have a clean household to live with. And then at the community level, then they promote this with a cluster project. So at the end of the day, recycles was done. At the end of the day, the final dispose of the waste, the unrecycled waste will go to the government to take care of. So at the end of the day, you don't have piling of waste. So it can be settled by the cluster. Even in the village, in the district, you don't have to go to the top dumping grounds like what we have today. So these calls, I believe, is an action which also promotes the roles of family towards circular economy. So it also promotes the role of family to eliminate climate change, because UN COP is talking about waste, garbage, climate change issues, right? So if it become national level, it become a global level, it's difficult to control. But if a family know how to manage their waste, they understand recycles, I believe you are already creating a healthy population with prosperity. And this program has been launched. And again, this agenda also can be shared among friends in African countries. I mean, in Seychelles, we adopt this very well. So I thought, because in Seychelles, for instance, when a family recycle the bottle plastic, they can discharge this bottle to the center of their cluster. And then this plastic will have points deducted for the tax. This is one example. So we try to do this a family cleanup program with the environment. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on this, but I mean, the idea is there. And I believe that this program is not a Seychelles program only, but it is a program, as Dean have mentioned, to be shared multilateral with friends. Now, I have my long-standing friend here, Dr. Juan Perez, Executive Director of the Commission on Population Development of Philippines. I believe that Juan also have success story to share with BKKBN, because one day when we meet in Banjarmasin 2 years ago, he mentioned to me that one thing I learned from Indonesia, Nico, is it is a big Muslim country, the biggest populous Muslim country. Yeah, and still the successful achievement of birth control is there. So how can big Muslim community learn from the success story of birth control from Indonesia? Dr. Juan Perez, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Ambassador Nico Barito, my good friend, envoy of the Seychelles to ASEAN, to my co-panelist, Pa Rizal Damanik, Deputy for Research Training of BKKBN, and I observe all protocols from our colleagues from Indonesia, UNFPA, all the ambassadors present. Please, can the Secretariat share my slides? Thank you. The Philippines and Indonesia very much share a long border, for us in our south and for Indonesia to its northern border. But we not only share a border, we share culture, we share people who share religious beliefs. Professor Damanik has a very Filipino name, Rizal. and from our national hero, Jose Rizal. And we are closely linked in more ways than one. So to all who are present here, my fellow advocates of family planning and reproductive health and development partners, good afternoon. Indeed, it is my pleasure to share with you a story of two countries of a very fruitful partnership between Indonesia and the Philippines. The said partnership was aptly called South-South, well, is still aptly called South-South and Triangular Cooperation on population, family planning, adolescent reproductive health, and gender mainstreaming, which started in 2012. Next slide, please. How did this begin? No? This began in 2012. Next slide. To begin with, in the past 3 decades, the development and promotion of international partnership through South-South Cooperation, or SSC, has been an important policy of the Indonesian government, dating back to 1955. Various SSC strategies have been developed and implemented by different ministries, including BKKBN, and from this initiative, starting in the 1990s or 30 years ago, BKKBN, through its Center for International Training and Collaboration, or CITC, has organized several SSC activities, which enabled many family planning program officers, executives from 95 countries all over the world to come to Indonesia to share their experiences and to learn new strategies in managing population and family planning programs. However, the change in national leadership in mid-1998 drastically reduced BKKBN's administrative and financial support from the state, coupled with the decentralization of government and delivery of basic services in 2004, which further diminished their experience of family planning. Thus, the need to strengthen BKKBN CITC's SSC initiative was seen as an important strategy to revitalize its family planning program. Given its two major strengths, successful for 4 decades family planning program performance, and second, its strategic collaboration with Islamic-based organizations and Muslim religious leaders, or MRLs, BKKBN CITC certainly could enhance its SSC efforts. Since these areas are within BKKBN Indonesia's country program priorities, support was extended to BKKBN CITCs to revive the SSC initiative. And the Philippines has benefited because of this revival. Discussions between BKKBN and UNFPA about the bilateral SSC began in 2011, 10 years ago. The former BKKBN chairperson, Dr. Sugiri Syarif, and UNFPA Indonesia country officer representative, Mr. Jose Ferraris, agreed that they would collaborate with UNFPA Philippines Country Office also and the Philippine Commission on Population, or PAPCOM. Therefore, because of because of religious and cultural similarities with Indonesia and the Philippines, the SSC, particularly for the Philippine South, the SSC partners decided to focus their fundamental efforts on the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao, which we now call the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, or BARM. The area, for us, it's area where most Filipino Muslims reside. To ensure that the planned SSTC initiative is feasible, a concept note was subsequently developed, and the scoping and 2 scoping missions were conducted by BKKBN and PAPCOM with their respective partners, an exchange visit between Philippines and Indonesia to scope out the area of cooperation. The favorable assessment by the groups led to the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between BKKBN's outgoing chair, Dr. Sugiri Sharif, and PAPCOM's executive director at the time, the late Tomas Osias. And this was done on August 30, 2012 at the historic Manila Hotel in the Philippines, in the presence of the ambassadors of the 2 countries. The SSTC initiative's main objective is to share and apply good practices in the area of population, family planning, adolescent reproductive health, and gender mainstreaming, areas where you find strength somewhere between the 2 countries. It specifies that BKKBN would share its good practices in the foregoing areas with Filipino MRLs, local chief executives, who are actually mayors, legislative officials, public health personnel, and local NGO partners. PAPCOM, on the other hand, would focus on training and other activities for Indonesian local government officials, public and private sector health personnel, and youth and religious leaders, as well as NGO adolescent RH workers from selected agencies. The MOU specified, the first MOU, specified that the SSC bilateral partnership would be for 5 years, 2012 to 2017. On September 16, 2013, this was 13 days after I assumed as executive director in PAPCOM. My first visit outside of the country was to Indonesia, where I met the newly appointed BKKBN chair, Dr. Fasli Jalil, and myself. We renewed our commitment to the SSTC MOU. We also agreed to include the topic of decentralization and family planning, because Indonesia and the Philippines have similar systems of governance when it comes to decentralized family planning and health services. Decentralization has had both negative and positive effects on family planning programs in our 2 countries. So this MOU sealed this partnership. And the main partners who worked together under this were the Philippine Commission on Population, which today is called the Philippine Commission on Population and Development, and we are in partnership with our regional autonomous government, the Department of Health of the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, the National Population and Family Planning Board, of course, of Indonesia, BKKBN, and the UNFPA country offices of Indonesia and the Philippines. These partner institutions also engage other agencies, both government and non-government organizations in our respective countries. What happened in the first 5 years, 2012 to 2017? Next slide. The initiative's major strategies have been and remain to be training, field exposure, internship, action planning, implementation of action plans, and exchange visits. We also conduct bi-national, mid-year, and annual meetings which are held in by the partners. You know, we exchange Indonesia 1 year or every 6 months, Indonesia and the Philippines would exchange hosting these meetings, so that the activities and the plans for the coming year could be discussed. Next slide. As the initial activity of the SSTC initiative, the Indonesian partners conducted a knowledge-sharing visit on strategic leadership for family planning and reproductive health on November 12 to 19, 2012, to 5 armed municipal teams which were chosen as pilot areas, namely UPI in Maguindanao, Ramain in Lanao del Sur, Akbar in Basilan, Panglima Sugala in Tawi-Tawi, and Haji Panglima Tahil in Sulu. Each municipal team was composed of mayors, local executives, health providers, religious leaders, and didactic and field immersion was done for the personnel, particularly on the Islamic boarding schools, sub-district religious affairs office, and exposure to pre-marriage counseling and in-health facilities, and visits to health facilities were conducted. The respective action plan on how they would engage religious leaders in their communities as advocates of the local government's family planning program, which is very similar to what Indonesia does. In pursuit of giving enlightenment to the Islamic on the Islamic context of family planning and reproductive health, an Indonesian religious leader and scholar and BKKBN official came to Manila on October 25, 2013. This is where I first met our Indonesian counterparts in the Philippines, to provide lectures for selected Muslim religious leaders from the 5 pilot areas in BARM or ARM. Regional experts and partners in ARM also provided inputs at the time. Next came lectures on the Islamic context of family planning, followed by training on how to effectively advocate family planning and reproductive health. Indonesian religious leaders and BKKBN officials and regional experts and partners collaborated in providing the necessary knowledge and skills to selected religious leaders from the pilot areas in ARM. We then, based on the learning from these visits and the 5 ARM pilot areas. The members of the municipal teams, together with trained MRLs, organized and conducted orientations on the Islamic context of family planning and reproductive health in their respective communities. Each group has reached out to religious leaders as well as couples in their communities. The trained religious leaders also reached out to other religious leaders in their respective communities and even those in remote areas, and shared their important learnings about family planning and reproductive health. Our municipal teams also visited again Indonesia, particularly Bogor and Yogyakarta, for an internship program to deepen their learnings from their previous visit. One outcome of all of these activities was the facilitation of the development and issuance of the Fatwa on Model Family in Islam, which provided for the legal opinion of esteemed religious leaders about early marriage, pre-marriage counseling, gender and health education for young people, and gender-based violence. Much of the learnings of the MRLs who were trained under the SSPC initiative were incorporated in the said fatwa. The fatwa has already been disseminated in many communities in ARM and has been translated into 2 local dialects, Magindanaon and Maranao. Furthermore, in the area of adolescent reproductive health, the Philippine partners organized and conducted a knowledge-sharing program called Indonesia-Philippines Strategic Approaches in Mainstreaming Adolescent Youth Reproductive Health, or IPH Sama. 23 Indonesian youth leaders and program implementors participated in didactic training and field immersion in community schools and visits to facilities which provide adolescent reproductive health information and services in Metro Manila and Panay Island in the Visayas. The Indonesian partners likewise organized 2 batches of knowledge-sharing program for ARM youth leaders. The youth leaders were accompanied by MRLs, partners from the ARM, Department of Health and Department of Education, and PAPCOM. They were oriented and exposed to various good practices in Lombok and Palembang, Indonesia, on the integration of adolescent reproductive health education and services in public and private schools, as well as pesantren, or Islamic boarding schools, and public health facilities. The Philippine partners also organized and conducted 2 batches of knowledge-sharing programs for Indonesian officials and program implementers. They were oriented on the Philippine health system and experience of the Philippines in implementing family planning programs in a decentralized system of governance. We have been decentralized since 1992 in the Philippines, which is about over a decade longer than Indonesia. The Indonesian partners were also introduced to the concept of bridging leadership to further enhance the leadership capacities of local leaders and health personnel in implementing health interventions, including maternal health, family planning programs. The orientation was ably handled by POPCOM's local partner, the Zwellig Family Foundation. Moreover, they were exposed to good practices of high family planning performing programs in local governments, in the National Capital Region, and in selected provinces in Mindanao. It was towards the end of the first phase of the SSC implementation in 2017 when the partnership was renamed the South-South Triangular Cooperation to highlight the partnership of the two governments with the UNFPA. From 2018 onward, the SSKC initiative has continued, where we still focus on training, field exposure, internship, action planning, implementation of action plans, and exchange visits, which are still our main strategies. Binational and mid-year and national meetings continued to be held by the two partners to plan activities jointly. Let us now look at some of the insights that came out of this assessment of our 5-year experience. Next slide. Foremost about this is after 5 years, the 5 pilot areas who are municipalities in 5 provinces have expanded South-South Triangular Cooperation to the other municipalities in their provinces. Particularly, you see here the provincial government of Maguindanao, where the governor and DOH arm and POPCOM agreed to expand the program all over the province of Maguindanao. Next slide. We also expanded in other BARM areas. Particularly, we had consultations with the provincial government of Tawi-Tawi to expand SSPC also. We had a meeting with the governor in Bongao, Tawi-Tawi in 2018, and areas were identified and approved by Governor Matba in Tawi-Tawi. And the draft MOU to expand with the provincial governor was drafted. We also expanded through seminars on strategic leadership for responsible parenthood and family planning in October 2018 in Davao City for the major areas of Central Mindanao. Other areas of expansion were dissemination of the fatwa on model family on Islam, which we conducted on November 2018 in Maguindanao with trained Muslim religious leaders who were echoing their learnings from the seminar on responsible parenthood and family planning. Further improvements that we saw was the development of the Comprehensive Gender and Health Education for Youth, or CJ module. This is a result of the learnings and exposures from the various good practices in Indonesia and adolescent reproductive health. POPCOM and our regional partners in ARM or BARM spearheaded the development of this CJ module. And today, this module has been published. Next slide. And it is now, we have now conducted training of trainers in the middle of the pandemic last August, where we had 25 madrasa teachers participating, and it will now be used as in madrasas in Muslim Mindanao for the discussion of gender and health among Muslim Filipinos. What did we learn from this SST initiative, which is now 9 years old? As the SST initiative continues, a rapid assessment was conducted from October to November 2018, spearheaded by Dr. Pilar Ramos Jimenez, our SSTC consultant. The assessment aimed to determine the impact of the partnership for armed MRLs, LG officials, health personnel in the pilot municipalities for their respective family planning and reproductive health programs. It identified the challenges met by the pilot teams in implementing their respective action plans and the approaches they had used to overcome them. Suggestions were obtained from different stakeholders regarding future directions of the SSTC. The rapid assessment also reviewed the pilot municipality teams' reports, conducted focal group discussions with MRLs and health personnel, and key informant interviews with regional and local government officials. So what were the lessons that were found out? Next slide. The learnings from the SSTC initiative broadened the perspective of ARMM municipal pilot teams about how MRLs could work effectively with local government officials in raising the demand for family planning and responsible parenthood. Their exposure indeed enlightened them about Islam and family planning, because in the past, most of the religious leaders had the mistaken notion that family planning is not allowed in Islam. Moreover, they have learned that in the Indonesian model, BKKBN and its partners did not only involve Muslim religious leaders in the implementation of family planning programs, but it has also involved religious leaders from other faith-based organizations, for example, Roman Catholics, Protestants, Buddhists, and other religions. Truly, the Indonesian experience became a model and proved to all it can be done. The exposure of arms municipal mayors, municipal teams to Indonesia has highlighted the critical role of Muslim religious leaders in our region's family and reproductive health program. Their widened perspective and enhanced skills in advocacy in the long run led to the expansion of networks of MRL advocates in their respective communities, and such networks hand in hand disseminated the information on family planning on Islamic context to their fellow religious leaders, men, women, and couples in their communities. The action plans of the pilot municipal teams emphasized how they could strengthen the role of the religious leaders in their respective municipalities. Family planning and reproductive health programs. The local chief executives who joined the first training became more supportive of the activities of the religious leaders and their health workers. Indeed, local chief executives have seen the importance of engaging religious leaders in the implementation of development programs, specifically in family planning and reproductive health. In all the knowledge sharing programs that were conducted under the SSPC initiative, it was emphasized that rights holders and duty bearers, the government, along with program implementers, religious leaders, and parents, have the respective share of duties and obligation in the improvement and promotion of the total well-being of young people. The BARM youth leaders, regional government development partners, and religious leaders, on the other hand, were given enriching exposures in their visit to Indonesia, particularly on how adolescent reproductive health can be integrated in school curriculum of Islamic educational institutions. Such good practice in Indonesia validates that one of the ways to empower the young people is through building their knowledge and life skills on reproductive health. Moreover, creating an enabling environment for young people, which includes Islamic institutions, increases that capacity of adolescents to make sound decisions for their overall health and development. In all the good practices, both in Indonesia and the Philippines, it is proven that engaging adolescents in information sharing strategies is one of the surefire means to enable the adolescents to manage and protect themselves from the daily threats and risks surrounding them. The Indonesian model proved that peer-to-peer strategy can also happen even in Islamic settings. It is truly a recognition that a young Muslim can be an effective channel of information. In the area of decentralization and local governance, vis-a-vis the implementation of family planning programs, the implementation of the importance of local leadership was highlighted. With our Indonesian partners undergoing the Bridging Leadership Program, meaning we also provided technology to Indonesia through the Bridging Leadership. It was underscored that local leadership and governance is vital and could be enhanced to achieve health reforms and improve health outcomes. The Bridging Leadership Program espouses that a bridging leader owns the problems or issues in his or her locality, understands its systemic analysis, and recognizes the interests of its many stakeholders and makes a personal response to the issue. The bridging leader then convenes the stakeholders on the issue, and through a process of dialogue and engagement, the stakeholder arrives at a shared vision and shared response in what is called co-ownership. Finally, the bridging leader and the stakeholder come to work together to co-create new arrangements that are inclusive, accountable, and transparent. And this leads to a more empowered, citizens and responsive institutions. Aside from Bridging Leadership Program, the Indonesian partners exposure to good practices in the management of local health programs in the various local government units in Mindanao and the National Capital Region of Manila led to a realization that national, regional, and local leaders and program implementers can join forces and serve the people in their communities. In the midst of decentralization of local governance, the support of the national and higher regional level of government can really make a difference in the local situation. Why did this initiative work? And continues to work today. Next slide, please.
Dr. Juan Perez. Dr. Juan
Yeah,
Perez, may I
I'm
interpret?
about to close. This is my last slide.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Yes. So why does this initiative work? No? there are three items that we think are essential in any South-South initiative. First is passion. Indonesian and Filipino partners are passionate to learn and share from both sides and are open to adopt good practices out of this passion. Second, it's important that those engaged in South-South cooperation have cultural and religious similarities so that the learning period is smooth and fast. And finally, ownership at the national level and accountability were critical in ensuring that programs such as South-South cooperation are implemented successfully for results. And finally, to my colleagues in BKKBN, maraming salamat, mabuhay tayong lahat. Terima kasih banyak.
Salamat, my friend. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Juan Perez. You make it very detailed but very inspiring. So thank you again for your times and contributions to these global family forums. While you are still there, I want to check whether my colleague ambassador of Nigeria want to ask you some questions or have some comments, because Nigeria is also a big country, no? I mean, what about any deputies that coming from any big countries with population issues? No? No questions so far, but I saw one question that BKKBN is addressing to you, I mean, from Santoso. The question is, the Philippines had succeeded in reducing the stunting rate. How can the Philippines maintain the program? Can you answer very, very briefly, please?
Yes, we were also on the road to reduce stunting. Our stunting is in the area of between 28 and 30% of our, very similar to Indonesia. We were on the way to improving that. However, COVID has intervened in a very important way. It has increased food insecurity, and stunting, we believe, will now be increasing slightly over the next few years. So I'm really very interested in the work of BKKBN on stunting reduction. And I would propose to BKKBN, maybe the Philippines and Indonesia can start working together on stunting reduction, because we are in the same place. And we are also conducting interventions, and I noted about the interventions being proposed by Indonesia. We laud the President Jokowi for his efforts to reduce stunting, and we can learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Juan Perez. I believe that you have answered the questions of Mr. Santoso from BKKBN. Again, it's a great honor to have you with us. I look forward to catch up with you, and we stay in touch, my dear friend. And now let us move to I noticed there is a few questions arise from the floor. I mean, it is about the influence of modern food and the threats, and other cause of this reduction target is high or something. May I cordially invite Ms. Anjali to give comments on this, please, Ms. Anjali.
Thank you so much for that question, Pa. If I have understood the question correctly, you are asking about the role of modern food and how that has been classified as a threat to the fetus, and how do we build a strategy to develop guidance for that. Now, this is, of course, there are a lot of taboos around this, and there are myths, and it is also not directly within the ambit of us in UNFPA to be talking about modern foods and different kinds of food. We heard about some traditional foods from the Manik earlier, Tolongan, Torbangon, sorry. Yeah, Torbangon. So that was indeed very interesting. And similarly, I think even with respect to modern foods, we need more data and evidence, and then we can work together on having a common joint strategy for that. So with all the partners, we could work together on this. And I think the second part of your question is that how do we assess Indonesia's plans for alleviating stunting through the role of the family? Now, of course, if I've understood your question correctly here, the role of the family is critical, of course, and we can support also from our side, UNFPA, in providing the data and evidence for this, right? So that you are aware of the areas of, and as you pointed out, that there are 3 provinces in Indonesia which have the most stunting. But of course, as was also conveyed through your presentation, role of the family is key, but we also recognize the role of the individual in the family, right? Of the individual and the individual's rights and choices. So those are also critical, as we know from the International Conference on Population and Development. So I think together with the family as the basis, because it is from the family that all these nutrition habits are developed. And as Nico, you also pointed out that even in terms of waste management and building community resilience, everything starts from the individual family unit. So of course, certainly the family is a key player in ensuring good health outcomes for everyone in the family. And we will certainly support with assessments and surveys and data.
Thank you, Ms. Anjali. I mean, lifestyle change, time flies. So we just have to cope with the current development of the world. I think it's now almost 6 o'clock local time in Jakarta. I believe Pak Uki, is there any more questions from the floor? I think basically that's about the 3 questions from the floor. So with the permission of the panelists, with the permission from Professor Damanik and Ms. Anjali and Pak Uki, may I consider that we try to wrap up these meetings, and before we close the floor, I have a few wrap-up points that I have prepared and need corrections later on. Welcome to correct. Firstly, I would say that reproduction health and stunting reduction in Indonesia has been an essential issue to cope with the human development for the future of the nations. BKKBN definitely welcomes multilateral international cooperations and assistance. Point number 2 is, despite of modern approach, vitamins and medications, we always rely on the combinations of indigenous approach of the people. The local wisdom of living in harmony and healthy ambience. This is important point for stunting reduction to be carried out not only at national level, but also at subnational in collaborations, of course, with local government and related institutes. Number 3, the program that Seychelles launched with BKKBN, which is the Healthy Environment, Prosperous Family, is a good initiative, not only for the family and the community, but the success will contribute to global issues on circular economy and eliminations of climate change. Number 4, Indonesia is one of the world's populous Muslim country. This is what I learned from Philippines. The success of family planning acceptance among the religious leaders and the youth is one of the key of success of BKKBN. A lesson learned that we can share with counterparts nation. Last point is the BKKBN Center of Excellence on Family Welfare that we have been developed between Seychelles and Indonesia should be extended at large to be Family Welfare Center of Excellence, Indonesia, Africa. This way we hope we can do more interactions, more lesson learned. Still, it is under the framework of South-South cooperations, We count on the continuous support of UNFPA, and we're thanking you for all your presence. I'll hand over the floor to the Master of Ceremony, Dr. Oki.
Yes. Thank you very much, His Excellency Dr. Nico Barito, for moderating this session. Thank you. Once again, we would like to express our gratitude to our speaker and our guest of honor. Please give applause to them. The Deputy for Training, Research and Development of BKKBN, the Regional Director of UNFPA, Asia Pacific Regional Office of Bangkok, UNFPA Representative to Indonesia, the Director for Social Cultural Affairs and International Organization of Developing Country, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia, Special Envoy of the Presidency to ASEAN, the Executive Director of the Commission of Population and Development of the Philippines. And also, of course, we would like to thank you to all our His Excellency, the Ambassador of Morocco, Egypt, Nigeria, Mauritania, Mozambique, South Africa, Tunisia, Zimbabwe, Algeria, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and also 26 member countries of PPD, Partners in Population and Development. Thank you very much. And to all participants, thank you very much for your participation. We hope that this Global Family Forum is beneficial for every party. Stay safe, healthy, and thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Maraming salamat po. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, after this, we would like to invite you for VIP dinner reception at the restaurant next to our room. Thank you.